Actually, we are already live, and Zoom is doing its buffer for Facebook Live. So,
Yeah.
good morning, Jonathan.
Hey, good morning, Scott. Good to see you again, buddy. How are you?
Good, good, good. It's been a bit, been a bit.
It sure has. We haven't done KD Live in a while. We, on our various media broadcasts, Coffee with Key has been running, uh, where the name Coffee with Key indicates it should be a short cup of coffee. That's ultimately what we've done for the last few broadcasts. There is shorten them down into something easily, you know, consumed within the same amount of time you drink your coffee before it gets too cool. And we wanted to come back to the audience here with KD Live, where we do dig a little more into some of the technical aspects as it pertains to AV integrators and projects. And we have, of course, the buzz still these days is AV over IP. We have some exciting new tools to talk to you all about for our AV over IP system, and some things that are going to make your job as an integrator easier. And we also hope it really enhances the user experience for the end user, making their satisfaction, happiness with the system easier than ever before. And we're also going to be joined by a special guest today, David Wen of Linksys, whom throughout the product lifespan of AV over IP for Key Digital, um, Linksys has been one of our most important partners, and they have some really great new product that they want to talk to you all about. I'm excited. You excited, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you mentioned it with the lineup of what they were doing, and then just doing some as they did more announcements and reading, I was like, oh, okay. I was like, what can they do better? You know, then obviously David's going to jump in and do some talking about it. But yeah, I mean, I just like hearing a different term other than pandemic or COVID. So AV over IP, links, network switches and everything else. This is a lot better of a conversation.
Absolutely, it's fun stuff after all, right? Should
Yes.
I should we start then by telling everybody about the new display control feature of our AV over IP system? I'm going to go ahead and do a quick screen share. Uh, Tell me you could see this here, Scott.
I can, sir.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So, if you've been following along with our AV over IP system, you know that our AV over IP system with 4K resolution support, we've had that out for about 4 years now, I want to say. And throughout that time, we've always had the free Key Digital app for controlling that system, the AV routing, right? So if I want to send a video source, let's say Apple TV, and I want to send it to 1, 2, 3 monitors, I could do that through the Key Digital app, and it's a free app for iOS devices. And we've also, of course, always allowed control by professional control systems. And we've also, throughout this time, built in our own Compass Control Pro control system, which not only allows you to do switching, but you do a program, you can change a channel on the set-top boxes. You can control your video displays on and off. You can control the audio system, the lighting system, thermostats, and more. So Compass Control Pro is really a complete integration system. Compare, contrast that with our Key Digital app, which was a control app specifically only controlling the Key Digital device. Well, or the Key Digital system. Well, not any longer. Actually, we've taken a huge step with the free Key Digital app, and we now have the display control feature, which will control your top brands of displays on, off, volume plus, minus, and muting. All you have to do is wire the emitter, which is included in the box, out of each of your decoders. Wire the emitter to be mounted over the display's IR sensor, and set it up in our Key Digital management software. Now, in fact, as you know, with our AV over IP, we're doing this in-house. We do the pre-configuration in-house. We have a questionnaire, and now as part of that questionnaire, it will ask you, it has always said to you, what control system are you using? What control method are you using for this, to make sure we're giving it the best possible, to make sure that we're setting up the system and making it ready for you to have the easiest possible integration. And now we have a selection box that says Key Digital app display control, and you can choose the display for each and every display individually that's connected to each decoder. And we mentioned top brands. So those brands are LG, Panasonic, Samsung, Sony, Sharp, Vizio, and Epson projectors. It is done via IR, but we also have PJ Link, which is commercial projector control. It's a standard in the that's accepted by thousands of brands, makes and models, and it's control over IP, and that's for our for control by our Key Digital management software. That's a PC-based software as opposed to an iOS app. So this is all done, and we could see how it's set up in our management software, but we'll do that for you. And we have a panel, which we see on the middle right part of the screen, where we have on off, and we'll do a better demo of that for you in just a moment on our iPad here. And so we could see the on off the display control section in the bottom left. So you simply choose your decoder, and the name where we see there, IP922 DEC, that would likely be called something like conference room projector or bar west display in a sports bar, let's say. And so it really makes it perfect for digital signage, campus AV, sports bars, etc. In fact, let me just pick up my iPad here, and I'm going to stop doing a share. I want to show you all how to demo this. If we do a share content from my iPad, start the broadcast. Okay. There we are. Okay, and let's go ahead and head into our free Key Digital app, where we have demo mode. So if you want to demo this to see what it looks like yourself, you're able to do so in here. The free Key Digital app, get it off your iOS or in the iStore, or the App Store, excuse me. And there we are. bar, the IP922. So here we see a better example, something a little more realistic. We have the arrivals screen, arrivals 1, arrivals 2. It's watching the info for arrivals. If we want it to now that display show you your satellite receiver or show you the cafe signage. You do your selection by choosing the display first and then the source second. We do have external audio control. This is the audio de-embed port and the preamp features. And then if we wanted to turn off that display, again, it's just selected and we press the on button or the off button, volume up, volume down, and mute to control the display itself. And it makes everything so easy. We also have the video wall control that is extremely popular that we might as well show you while we're in here. Just drag it across the screen, choose your source and drag your finger across the screen, or even go one by one if you'd like, or even you could do like kind of non-traditional aspect ratio. So controlling video walls is as easy as what you've just seen here. And yes, one last thing, Scott, I'm terribly sorry. I'm like absolutely monopolizing the show here.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't know. You would think it's like Jonathan had a couple extra espressos. So one thing, Jonathan, that I'll go back on real quick. So these new added features, I know some people have apps auto update, some of them don't have apps auto update. So for these new features, they do want to go back into that app, open it up, and update it. Am I correct?
You have to update the app. Good
Yep.
point, Scott. You have to update the app.
I didn't want
You
somebody to
also
open
you,
their app and say, "Hey, I don't have these options."
well, this is actually requiring a firmware update on the
Yes,
AV over IP system as well. So
correct.
there's the latest firmware. So all of the new shipping systems will include this. And if we need to go back and revisit any existing installs, then we're happy to arrange that. You just reach out to our technical support team there. And and then when that's enabled, then you see these features. So I should clarify, hey, we got all these options here. They're great. But what if I don't need them and I just want to use my app for switching only, for example? It's just like always, Scott, a selection box, a checkbox, and a drop down menu to make this visible, to show. Otherwise, when you choose a display that has not enabled the display control feature,
Yep.
that whole section is not visible. It's invisible. And the final thing is, now imagine, this is kind of an example of a digital signage in a transport hub, most likely an airport on the GUI here. Imagine a university where they have the public address messaging sent throughout the displays, all throughout the campus, maybe the classrooms, maybe some huddle spaces as well. And if I want to use one of our decoders, the 922 decoder or 1022, they have that local switching option. And that's where you see this local button up top here. So by pressing this local button, that decoder has an HDMI input. It's like a 2x1 switch. And now in that house of worship or in the campus on the university, that display could go from, instead of showing the digital signage, for example, now we see it's on number 5. It could go local and we see that kind of color change and it tells us there it's watching the local source. And of course, if you really want to see what each display is viewing and what each source is sending, here's our example. So this is actually a free demo, the Key Digital app. So please encourage you all to go ahead and grab this on your iPhones and iPads, any iOS device, to so that you can demo this for your clients and see how easy it could be. And also it'll teach you a thing or two about our system. And yeah, I think it's just, think about that, Scott. Now the sports bar, imagine we have 10 sources, a dedicated 8 cable boxes, two satellite boxes, or vice versa. Usually that's actually it. 8 sats, two cables, and then you can you all all you've had to you could switch to each of those. They're on a dedicated channel, and now you can turn on and off your displays individually each morning and at the end of the night, and it's free 99, as we like to say.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing is people don't realize it. Like it, it is free. Go through. I tell people, and even like our dealers or regular consumers, it just gets them familiar with it. So having all that ability is definitely going to one up us in you know the market, and just having that functionality where they could hand it over to somebody and have a simple layout and say, hey, you know what? Shut the TVs off. It's time to close shop. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's done simply over IR. Um, and I think essentially, what does that do for systems? It makes AV over IP more palatable for mid-level projects. AV over IP does generally have a high price point. Key Digital, our product, is very competitively priced. But now you don't have to include external control hardware, nor do you have to pay for programming if the application could be done and the user needs are met with just those features we described to you, of which I could think of handfuls and handfuls of projects even recently. That local switching input, um, uh, our Alan down in Georgia, we built a Compass project together with that local switching, and there's programming costs, licensing fees, etc. Well, now it's built into the system, so we learn every day. We're constantly getting better. That's the beauty of having the software all done under one roof at Key Digital. So
yeah, or even like another good thing with this particular the KD app was Jason and Craig on that uh, gentleman's 2x2 video wall in his home.
mhm.
So it just simplifies everything itself. Having that option there. I mean, obviously that was a little more elaborate than your standard, matrix system, but all that's there. I mean, more and more everything is starting to slowly open. I'm seeing it more in the southern area, but everything is coming back around. So we just want to be able to give these everybody out there another solution to make things easier, where they could come in, set something up. You and I both know there's been some of these teams where it was like 12 guys, and unfortunately they're down to just a couple guys.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this will simplify everybody's life, but and some of the turnaround on these jobs for everybody. But one of the most important things to take a little segue is all these items, Jonathan, all connect to something, so they
Yes.
can all talk to each other.
Great
You know?
segue. Great segue. Um, that's right. Pleased to be joined by our special guest today. Um, this is David Wen. He's coming to us from Linksys. David, if you're there, he is. He got to hear the full intro. I'm glad Scott got us back on track. Welcome, David.
Thanks everybody. Great to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you with us. I mentioned at the kickoff of the show here, as long as we've had AV over IP at Key Digital, we've pushed the Linksys product, the LGS series.
Yep.
Early on, I'm thinking of one specific dealer. Once we heard that there was a transition in the models, there was a 52 port series or a model years ago that had 10G fiber links. Once we heard that that was transitioning, I there was one dealer who just absolutely bought every last unit of the 52 port in inventory. So we really we push it. It's a great product. It's often been at the centerpiece of our AV over IP systems, and that's saying a lot because AV over IP is high bandwidth stuff.
Yeah.
4K source, one video source constantly pushing 4K. It's constantly pushing that data into the network. It's 850 megabits per second. It's getting close to a gig, and that's just one encoder, and now you guys have a new product.
Hey, what one thing before David takes off, I have to say is I have to drop this. There was a little bit of sheer panic with a lot of our dealers that had that product, and they were like, "What do you mean they're changing the lineup?" You know, and I was like, everything that we've been hearing and reading and this and that, I was like, it's going to be for the better. You know, it's going to be the new improved. But a lot of guys, you know, there's a lot of people, old school people that, you know, they don't want to color outside that line. This works. This works. This works. So I like Jonathan said, there was a lot of people that, you know, it did create a little bit of panic because everybody's like, okay, what do I do now? I was like, wait, let's see what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, and that always happens when you're transitioning your product line. It eventually has to happen. But hopefully it's just kind of like that short-term panic. And then once they test the new product out and they're familiar with it and they're comfortable with it, then it's smooth sailing from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the new product, it's the LGS MPC series, Mike, Papa, Charlie, and we absolutely immediately fell in love with it. What's new with the MPC series, David?
Right. So, you talked about the previous generation of switches that we've had and that you've been using. Um, that was before my time with Linksys, but we've had those products for a pretty long time. I would say around 6 to 7 years. So it's about time that we transition to some new hardware, right? And that all translates to electronics getting smaller, cheaper, faster, which always translates to a cost savings to the customer and to the partners, right? So we always want to try to transition when we can, but we also understand that for business products they have to kind of live for a long time. You want to qualify your project with these models, these SKUs, and then you don't want to have to qualify a new product like a year later, right? So we do want to have some kind of some longevity with the business SKUs, but at the same time we want to make sure that we're always transitioning at a proper time to give a lot of cost benefits to our customers. So
Absolutely.
with this new series, the new MPC series, it's pretty exciting. We launched it in January. We really wanted to just make it much simpler, reduce complexity. So what we decided to do previously, we kind of had two series of switches where we had a regular series of switch, and then we had a smaller step up with the 500 series. Now what we've decided to do is just put all the value into the 300 series and just call it a day. Because at the end of the day, we want everybody just to use our switch. We want to put as much value in there. We don't want to really nickel and dime you for every step up or every step down, right? So that's why we've kind of packed everything that we possibly can into the new 300 series. So it's almost like you're getting a 500 series switch that we've had previously in this new product. So you're getting more 10G SFP ports, which you've used, right, to create that high bandwidth link for your video streaming. You're getting TAA compliance, which is also very, very cool, right? If you've got like a government type of application where they might not have that as a requirement, but it's a nice checkbox to have. It's nice to know that this product isn't manufactured like in China or something like that. It's a TAA compliant product, and most vendors usually charge you extra for that. They'll make a separate SKU that has like dash TAA on it, and then they'll charge you extra for it. We decided just to throw that in there just to make it as simple as possible. So whether you need it or not, you're getting it. So yeah, you're getting that. You're getting the SFP ports. You're getting more PoE budget than we've had before. So we made some efficiencies with the power supply that's inside the switch that allows us to give you more PoE budget so you can power more devices, which is great. And the cost per watt is still very, very good. What else can I say? Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've just put everything that we possibly can into the switch, and it's great that you've been able to use it so well.
Thank
Hey,
you. Yeah, Scott, if you don't mind, real quick. So I'll show everybody the thing that we really liked about it. Right? So if I just follow, I could go to any Key Digital AV over IP product, and we have our verified network switch guide. And here's the MPC models. And the first feedback I received from my team, this is our instructions of what you need to turn on. IGMP snooping, for example, jumbo frame, setting a VLAN, and this is a step-by-step guide. Now, what my team really absolutely loved about this is that essentially everything is just right in the layer 2 feature setup menu. Anything that we needed to set, yeah, we're done now. So it's like 3 pages, mostly
Yep.
pictures, all within the same setup menu, and it's done. So whereas if for giggles, people were to look at other model setup or even previous generation Linksys, it was, a little bit of hop here, hop into there, go to this configuration, go to this other section. So it's extremely easy. You guys did a wonderful job of the setup GUI there.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. And, that's exactly what we were going for. So we know that, if you talk about the history of switches, a lot of people are familiar with CLI, right? Cisco iOS CLI. I mean, I was Cisco certified in 2002. That was a long time ago.
Wow.
But we wanted to give all the different options for you to be able to manage the switch. We know that a lot of people use the GUI now, so we wanted to make sure that that was on point. I think for the future of our product line, also our vision is, adding cloud management to the product. So it's not going to be there today, but I think maybe within the next year or so, we plan on doing that. And this experience with Key Digital is great because we can really focus on the features that you guys use a lot, right, day to day, and we can make that focus for the cloud management and kind of learn from that. When you look at a switch, it has so many features. I don't think it's possible for us to put everything into the cloud. But what we want to do is we want to put at least 70 to 80% of the features that you really use on a day-to-day basis in there to make it easier for you. So that's kind of our vision. Right now, we have cloud management for our access points. We don't have cloud management for our switches yet, but we want to put everything into that platform. So it's all one place that you can use to manage all of your devices.
If I can offer any feedback, which is we've seen from some other manufacturers, their move to the cloud almost is prohibitive in allowing the setup and getting the network switch up and running. If you could, like, maybe not, everybody's accustomed to typing in the IP address and entering admin to get started, right?
Yeah.
Don't change that process, please. There's been some manufacturers we've seen that it halts everything with the project because the IT person wants to associate their credentials with the network switch, but they're not on site. They don't want to give their password or whatever it might be. But if you could find a way to fine tune that in a way that, the switch could get set up, things could get going, and then the cloud aspects, which I totally understand, most likely would require username, password, credentials, etc. Maybe have that be somewhere after that initial step. I think that would be very helpful.
Right. So yeah, we're still kind of architecting out how it's going to work, but we want to give options to our customers, right? So I don't think we'll ever get rid of the web GUI. I mean, that's really just a primary way for you to administer the device. And so we probably wouldn't mess with anything on that side of it in terms of being able to access it with the traditional ways that IT admins are familiar with. What's really cool about the cloud is that the way that you administer and you add it to your platform is a bit different, right? You're using the serial number and the MAC address of the device in order for you to add it to the platform. So you're not really dealing with a password at that point. The only password that you're kind of dealing with is your own cloud login for the account. And the way that we secure that cloud login is using two-factor authentication, which a lot of people do right now, right? So if you're in a situation where you have to manage 10, 20, 30 switches and you kind of want to do the same thing with them, this is what we're hoping to help with, right? Because you can easily add those 20 or 30 switches just by using the serial number and the MAC address. And then you can just kind of apply a profile very, very quickly to them. And so then that way, at least you'll have kind of a base configuration that you can do very, very quickly. And then if you need to fine tune it, I think, you can still go into the web GUI and fine tune things.
Yeah.
Hey, David, not to put you on the spot. So when you guys are going through, and you might have the answer or you might not, or could elaborate. When you guys are going through and looking for the answers, like, is it a marketing research aspect or like ease of use, people that have used the product? kind of I'm trying to think of a good wording here. Like to improve these abilities,
Mhm.
what is your go-to to see a what's wrong? Is it customer surveys, feedback, anything like that, or how do you get that input? Or have a we have groups of installers that we reach out and be like, hey, is this an added value to something or not? I always wondered that as a large manufacturer
Yeah.
like Linksys, how they come about. I mean, you just don't want to make a whole bunch of changes and then be like, oh,
Right,
here you go.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. It's a bit of an art, right? I love talking to customers. I love talking to our partners. I feel like that's where we learn the most about how to solve problems. I think also sometimes customers don't understand the problem that they're having, and they think they know the solution, but they don't really know what the solution is. So
Mm,
sometimes you kind of have to listen and kind of try to cut through that to see what the real root of the problem is, and that's always what I'm trying to do. Um, and I'm also very much in the trenches. I'm the product manager for our business products, but I also configure them. I take them home. I run them in
mm.
a lab. So I'm very intimate with the products as well. So I feel like that kind of gives me an understanding of what I think customers need and don't.
That's the best way right there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. My flight down here from Newark. I'm in Mexico, coming everybody live from Mexico, along the Caribbean here, doing the world tour, the social distancing world tour of my living room in this town, my living room in that town, and you guys see this system at the airport where the bins they line you all up and you could only put one bin forward at a time, but then the other bins are they're making their way and they're so you may have your stuff sitting at the end of the belt all the way through the scanning and everything for multiple minutes before you even get to your before you even get to cross the security scan, and it's just an awfully designed system. Sorry, this was a fresh memory for me, and I'm like, don't ever design whoever designed that never used it. So you
Right,
have
Yeah.
to use
right.
you have to use the product. Sometimes a poorly made product is just like, do you want people to use this?
That
So
that's
it's
why I
really
wanted to hit David up with that because it's like you and I, Jonathan, it's like, what else could you do with it? So when our team of engineers come out with something, it's either we try to break it, find the fault in it, or anything like that to be able to go back to them. But what other creative ways that you could go through, um, where we've done different demos with our BYOD 4K, a capture device, like elaborating on it. It's almost like a science project at home. Like I was the talking to you about earlier between OBS, Zoom, this and that. So it's like you just got to look outside that box or reach out to other people and say, "Hey, I've done it with this, I've done with that." But that's one of the the biggest passions I have is like my daughter when she was younger. It's like, oh, my dad gets to play with toys and gets paid for it. You know, and it's but knowing that you need that feedback that is
Yeah.
so valuable to everybody across the board of okay, we could think of the coolest option, the three of us across the board, which would be a huge value to us. But then you could have somebody out in left field that's like, I just don't see it. Like
yeah.
why did you do that?
Well,
So
if I can give a little history, so yeah, you guys had the LGS series. There was the 52 port, the 10G fiber again, and then there was a series in between that had it was maximum 24 ports and only 1 gig fiber. And
Hmm.
I get it, sometimes you need to make a change, or like you said, I think you were alluding to the difference between the 3 series and the 5 series, for example.
Yeah.
And but then going back now, that's what really makes us excited. This MPC series, um, you have a 8 port, a 24 port, and a 52 port. Or I could be saying those wrong because there's plus 4 fibers on the 24, so it's really a 28, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then the 52 is truly a 56, and and they have 10G fiber links, and this is a big feature for us. It's a necessity. I'm going to go ahead and begin a screen share. So when Linksys reached out to me and said, "Hey, we've got the new product coming out." Um, uh, Here and your teammates, your colleagues offered to give me a one-on-one of this so that I could bring it to my engineers. And I couldn't have been happier. And then my engineers also, because this is what they get to do with it. They turn on the SFPs, the stacking. We connect. Here we had 16 4K video resolution sources streaming motion JPEG 2000 and 4K resolution again. So we number
Oh,
two, I think, that actually shows. Here we are. So this was the big test here. We had 5 of the LGS 328 MPCs stacked, verifying the link aggregation feature. And so we actually, so if you look at, it's kind of small here, but we created a 20G pipe between every single switch. And so 5 switches with a total of 8 10G fiber SFPs, and we ended up exceeding 15 gigabits constant data. I mean, AV over IP is unique, correct me if I'm wrong, David, in the sense that it's just constantly pushing that data. A typical data packet kind of sends and it's done, right? But video, it has to be a unique challenge.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think video has a lot of higher requirements compared to other applications. Other applications are kind of bursty, and they're not on the traffic isn't on the network for that long. But when it comes to video, especially if you have TVs broadcasting all day long in your business, that's constant traffic. So being able to create this high bandwidth pipe between the switches, and I would say even just dedicating this switch network just for audio and video, I
Yes.
think that's huge for the reliability of the system.
Yeah, that's something we try to promote whenever we can. Dedicating the AV switch. If you need to have a cat link in order to share the network, but we have the VLAN partitioning, if you will.
Right.
And it's actually something that is required by some of the popular control systems in the industry. They require you to keep the AV over IP on its own dedicated network switch. So fortunately, it's not just the video manufacturers promoting this these days. And yeah, and these products are at an unbelievable price point. Also, you kind of alluded to just through the technological advances and chips becoming more and more affordable. Are you a price guy? Do you want to mention the pricing of the 52 port, for example, and the 24, 28?
Right. I believe the 52 port is 999.99, like end user price.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, and we won't quote you on it, but it's a good
Yeah.
idea just to give the audience an idea.
Something around there. So
Yeah.
it's very, very competitive, and you're getting for that 52 port, you're getting a 720 watt PUE budget, which is
Yeah.
huge. We've never had that large of a PUE budget in a switch before, but we're able to do it now because of all the efficiencies that we've been able to get from the power supplies and everything just getting cheaper and faster.
David, every single one. So if I like step back to one of these earlier slides, if I had these decoders 10, 20, 30, 40, 48 encoders, decoders, they could all be powered by PoE thanks to your network switch. You don't need a single external power supply for the Kia digital gear with that. And wow, it's just, yeah, that's so amazing. So amazing.
hey, part of it too, Jonathan. Just to,
Mhm.
I mean, other than I know other people, end users, consumers, everything else. Just so we don't get too tech aspect. These are residential models too. I mean, people laugh at what I have in my house for a network, or I'm sure what you have, David. So it's as people are working from home more and everything like that. To me, for a unit like that, for a retail value of $1,000, I could totally utilize that, you know. But part of it too, I wanted to interrupt and go back, is I think either the general consumer too might not know what an uplink is. So I call that theory of even to my dealers, like building a car with the hood welded shut. So you've committed now to a 52 port switch. And then it's like, okay, either if I was a dealer or something like that, somebody's going to look at that box and said, I have no more plugs, you know? So I wanted to kind of throw that back at you, David, of what the ability of that switch can do, which is a huge value too, to be able to either, add on or put the addition onto their network.
Right. So if you're talking about, the ability to expand, I think we saw a pretty good example of that, right? In the previous slide. Um, Having those four 10G SFP plus ports kind of gives you that really, really high speed highway backbone, right? So that you can expand as far as you need. So you can do 20 gigs up and 20 gigs down.
Yeah.
If you only had two ports, two 10G ports, then you can only do 10G up and 10G down, right? So it's really, really important, as you've seen for your audio video stuff. And, like you said, for residential too, if you've got like a mansion where you've got a whole bunch of video cameras for your security system, then this could also play very well with it too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think people realize the overall bandwidth of what video takes,
Yeah.
And I use my funny one. It's like, you're trying to take, drain the Hoover Dam with a garden hose. It's just not going to work. You have all that information and you're trying to send it through a little hose. So I think a lot of it in being, more education for the consumer to understand that not everything can be bought from Amazon or off the shelf and everything else, to be able to get that right solution. That, there's dealers, professional IT guys, everything else, always, reach out. I mean, I live in a community here in the beach and there's 8,500 square foot houses on the beach, and they have cameras like Fort Knox, but having that ability to see that, or limiting the point of failure,
Yeah,
or
and you bring up a good point, Scott, because we're always here to help. So for our partners and for our customers, if you call into our tech support, we're always there. We have really long warranties on our products as well. I think if you buy something from Amazon, like something really cheap, right, it's only going to have like a 30-day or 1-year warranty at the most. And good luck trying to call somebody, right, if you need help.
yeah.
So
or,
that's
or
kind of what we like to push as well.
or another big name switch, and we never disparage anything or any company that's out there that literally has no tech support. Their version of you having an issue and be like, you call me Dave and be like, oh, here, David, I'm going to issue an RMA, and you're just getting basically just going to get a new switch. I'm not giving you any support. It might have been broke, it might not have been broke, but
Right,
here, let me
right.
just send you a new one. But having these conversations, or having your team there so they could actually talk to somebody, I think that's customer service has gone by the wayside. it's
I
it's
I had
it's
a
not there anymore.
I had a Linksys customer service experience. I actually called to discuss link aggregation with your team, and they were really, really great. And they got me all the information I needed. They had forwarded over a white, I think it was a white paper or some kind of technical FAQ on that link aggregation feature. Because at the time I was just thinking I only knew stacking and this sort of thing, but you guys have some unique touches on it. So yeah, and they passed the test. So
That's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, we're always learning too. If we come across a new problem that we haven't heard before, yeah, we're always encouraging our support team to create knowledge based articles and to be able to use that and share that with the customers.
yeah, if it's on one person's mind, it's probably on plenty of other people's minds as well. Well, David, thanks so much for doing this. Is there any links or anything you'd like to promote? Have the audience check out on with you or with Linksys?
Sure. So we recently launched the new MPC series in January. We're going to be launching the non-PoE versions, in case you don't need the PoE, in June. So we'll have a complete lineup by the middle of this year. So that's going to be really, really exciting. And I would say that if you're an integrator, an architect, give us a look, because we're just releasing these switches this year. They're going to have a long life ahead of them from this point on.
Yep.
If you try to get another solution that's on the market today, you don't know how long, unless you do your research, you don't know how long that solution has been in the market, right? So if it's on its last legs and you qualify that product, and then you have to qualify a new product next month, then that's going to be more, more of a headache for you, right? So, so knowing that we just released these products this year kind of gives you, the peace of mind that they're going to be out in the market for a while.
Well, I certainly hope that they're out there for years and years because I love them. And
Yeah.
that rat's nest of a lab.
Yeah, I was
let me
going to
just
say
tell
that
you, some
those weren't the
people,
prettiest.
yeah,
That
yeah.
was functionality, not pretty.
Because some people will say, "Oh, it's a new product. Let me give it time to mature." But
Yeah.
let me tell you, that is a high pressure testing environment, 24/7 runtime. Not only doing the AV, but we also send loads of other IP communication between inter devices,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that all has that that all works 100% without a glitch at all. So the product it rocks, guys, and this is at least third generation of that LGS series as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, wow, who do I work for again?
Right,
You're right.
right.
I was
I
like,
think I have
I was
to
like,
give
I'm
some
a
money out
fan.
here.
yeah.
I'm a fan for sure.
You're like, the check is in the mail.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. I
but
got
one
it.
thing,
I got it, guys.
yeah, the longevity is another huge thing because uh you know from conception to completion of a bid spec or something that comes out, which is
Hmm.
huge.
Yeah.
So in the beginning it's like, oh, okay, well, you know what, that project's ready to land, it's 6 months later, and it's like, David, is that mile still current? Sorry, it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a huge value to
Yeah.
people, or I mean,
It's
to me personally.
it's
you
something
know
Definitely.
we've had to learn from ourselves at Key
oh
Digital.
yeah.
We've been guilty of that in the past, cycling through those model numbers way too fast. People just start accepting them and being comfortable with them, and then it's on to the next one. IT and AV, these are fast moving technologies. It's an
Hmm.
art, it's an art form to steal your words there, David. So
Yeah, yeah. And I'm really excited because I feel like this is kind of the perfect time, right? We are actually, I think, releasing 13 SKUs in total this year across
Wow.
our Ethernet switch and our Wi-Fi access points for the business. And I think it's the perfect time because with everything happening with COVID and hopefully the economy recovering, everybody's kind of rethinking about how do we rebuild our infrastructure. How do we move along with a recovering economy? So I think this is actually the perfect time to have these new products in, so that you can qualify them in and know that they're going to live for a long time.
yeah, well, there you go. That's just another way that Linksys and Key Digital will work together in the future. David Wen of Linksys, we appreciate you joining us. And thanks so much to your team. You guys have been fantastic.